Hey there, if you're a beauty founder, wellness professional, or a healthcare provider building a brand, I made something special just for you. You already have the results, the credentials, the products, the testimonials, the loyal customers. You're credible. You've built something that works. But if your visibility and your revenue still don't reflect the excellence of your work, it's not your offer. The online landscape has changed. The attention economy is fading. And the brands growing fastest right now aren't chasing algorithms, they're owning authority. In my free masterclass, The Authority Era: How to Become an Influential Name in Beauty and Wellness and Attract More Customers, I will show you how to shift from attention to authority and how to use credibility as the engine that drives sustainable growth for the long term. Watch the Authority Era Masterclass free at factorpr.com/authority, and you can find the link in the show notes below. Happy New Year, my friends. If you're starting 2026 feeling slightly overwhelmed, overcommitted, or just plain over it already, my conversation with Lisa Woodruff of Organize 365 is your permission slip to reset. In this episode of Grow Your Wealth, Lisa sits down to chat with us about why your household deserves the same systems, structure, and support as any thriving business. Lisa shares how her own struggles with time, mental load, and perfectionism, or as she calls it, excellence, has led her to create a powerful framework that helps women reclaim their time, set boundaries, and find calm in the chaos. You'll learn how tools like her Sunday basket can transform your week, why perfectionism is holding you back, and how embracing your executive function can be the key to getting unstuck at home and unlocking a new level of growth at work. Whether you're managing a family, running a business, or probably both, Lisa's philosophy reminds us that organization isn't about control. It's about self-care, empowerment, and peace of mind. Lisa, welcome to Grow Your Wealth. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, the timing is so right for having you. I know this episode is going to be so juicy. Your voice and message are so needed these days as we begin the new year. Before we get into the tools and strategies that I am very excited about, can you just explain to us who you are, where you came from, and what led you to start Organize 365? I mean, sounds like a company where really your heart and soul has been poured into it.
Yes, thank you. So I am every woman. I really am just every woman. As a child, you have this dream of what your adult life will be. My dream was to get married and have children. I did get married. I was not able to conceive, but we did adopt 2 children. So at the age of 30, I had my 2 children. So I had my childhood dream, right? I was able to be a stay-at-home mom for a season, and I loved that so much. And then no one tells you anything after that. Like in your 20s, like, okay, you're going to chase after this dream and kind of you go after a little bit more in your 30s. And then the rest of adulthood is like this abyss that you're going into that nobody ever talks about. So my parents got divorced. I ended up being the executor of my dad's estate with my sister. We had to care for him while he was ill and then passed away. You know, children come with their own unique complexities. Had to navigate those. Went through the downturn in the economy of 2008, 2009. The direct sales company I was with went bankrupt twice during that time. I don't even know how it's possible. Anyway, so I found myself at 39 going, what the heck? This is not the life I signed up for. Like, my parents are divorced. My dad is gone. The kids have gone off the rails. The economy is terrible. We're in the most debt ever. I'm on antidepressants. I'm overweight. And women in my family live a long time. So they live into their 80s, 90s, even 100s. I was like, I cannot do this another 60 years. Again, I can't keep living this life for another 60 years. Like, I won't make it. And I knew that I'm too healthy not to make it. So I was like, well, then I got to change something because I don't want to live this life. And so that's when I really was like, okay, well, you can't change your family, but you can change yourself and you can change your occupation. So what are you going to do, Lisa? I was like, well, I'm a 4th-generation female college graduate and 4th-generation female entrepreneur. And not just like did something in their house. Like my grandmother owned like restaurants and stuff back in the 50s. Like it was crazy, the things that the women in my family have done. And so I knew I was called to do some kind of a business. So I started a blog. And I just thought, well, I like to organize and I'm good at organizing. And anytime I'm stressed, I go organize and it usually solves the problem. So I'll name the company Organize 365. No idea how I would monetize it. A couple of months later, people told me I was an in-home professional organizer. I was a professional organizer. So I started doing a service business. And then 3 years later, I was like, oh, yes, I can serve you by organizing your house. That's something I'm uniquely gifted and created to do. But even better, my training in college is as an educator. And I realized what I was doing was teaching women how to run their household, how to operationalize it, how to treat it more like a business and put in place processes and procedures, because they would have me keep coming back out again and again and again because they added another baby. They took on a different job. They had a different role or responsibility, and they felt like the whole entire household had changed. And I was like, no, the structure is there once you have a good operational system, but your role keeps changing. So you need to keep evolving and changing with your household, but you don't need to keep redoing everything. And what worked, that book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, like decluttering helps at first, but then it doesn't help anymore. You have to learn the skill of organizing. I was like, oh, well, this is teachable. So that was 11 years ago I started the podcast. And really, it's just classroom lesson plans on the podcast. Like, here's how you need to operationalize your house. Here's how you need to learn this skill that will grow and develop over time.
I love that. And there's such an appetite for that, right? I feel like, especially with social media, all of us are continuously learning, whether we are seeking out to learn or not. And I think it's also really wise to people, because of folks like you that have really made this a lot more approachable and accessible. We're realizing, right? I don't need a one and done fix. There's no such thing as a one and done fix. I need a system that I can follow, because systems are really what runs the show, right? Whether it's in business or life, like they always say, have a good system and anyone can repeat that system and ultimately see success. So I'm not surprised at all that there was a growing need for not just you, Lisa, the human being coming to organize the homes, but you want your homes organized all of the time, right?
Right.
So what does that look like now for Organize 365? Can you share a little bit about what are these systems? And would also love to know maybe this is a good place to start, your most popular system. Like, what are women looking for right now?
Yeah. So the problem is women want it all. We want it all. I guess it's the problem and the challenge. We want it all. And you can have all the organization you want in your household, but just give me and yourself the grace and the time to do it in a longer time horizon. So I'm a teacher. You not expect that I'm going to learn everything in middle school in a weekend. And that's kind of like what you're asking to do when you want to learn how to really, truly operationalize and make your household productive. You need to give it a couple of years. Nobody wants to hear that, but I've been saying that for 11 years. Like, I have never sugarcoated the fact that I am not your overnight household success. However, you do start to see immediate success. So everything that I offer is in like a whole system called the Complete Home Organization Bundle, and it has 4 systems. So the first one is always the Sunday basket. Easiest one to set up. It is the invisible load. It's all the projects you're doing, all the ideas you have in your head, the mail, the bills, all of the online schedules and all of that. That is your weekly system. You set that up in the Sunday basket. Is a physical system, like it's your school supplies. And you can have that up and running and be consistently using it within 6 weeks. And it will immediately, in 6 weeks, it will reduce the overwhelm that you have in the day-to-day, Monday through Friday, because it will give you a safe place to put those ideas or things that can wait until the weekend to the weekend. So that's step 1. Then after you start to get some of that extra breathing capacity in your week, then we encourage you to do your whole house, which takes at least a year. That's the Productive Home Solution. And then we also have planning days, which we do 3 times a year. Just like you plan in business, you should plan at home. But there are only 3 because you plan naturally in January, in May, and in August. You plan for the fall, you plan for the spring, and you plan for the summer. Even if you don't have kids, that's just naturally when you plan. And then the last thing is all the information management, your file cabinet. You don't need most of what's in there. So this is called the paper solution. We replace that with binders, which if you don't live, like you and I live in Ohio, but if you live on the coastal areas, if there are fires, if there are hurricanes, if there are these kinds of things you need to evacuate, you can't evacuate a file cabinet. So once you're through all of these systems, which takes a couple of years, Now your household has all the strong operational systems that like I put into my business, a finance department, a marketing department, operations department. We need to have all of these inside of our households. And fun fact, did you know that the US household makes up 67% of the spending in the United States?
67% of the spending in the United States in
Total
every
spending.
house. Wow.
So we are, we're the largest economic engine in the world.
Yes.
And yet we have zero operational systems. We don't treat our household like a business at all. And we're just like, running around, drinking another coffee, eating a chicken nugget we found on the couch and running. Like we are the largest economic unit in the world and we put absolutely no time. It's not our fault because it just doesn't exist. We don't put these operational systems in place. And so we can't really take care of the finances of our household, the planning of our household, and maximize that impact that we make in the United States, which then trickles out to the entire world.
Lisa, why do you think that is? I mean, like that number is astonishing, right? And
Right?
it's not just based on logic, but it's also based on emotion. Like we're scattered, right? Like when we get home, I feel pretty buttoned up and organized in my business. I cannot say the same about my home life.
Yeah.
What's the disconnect that's happening in American households?
Yeah, I think the disconnect is the household is an afterthought. Like you don't have part of your household budget that's allocated to home organization. Like my purchasing for me is not part of your budget. Mm-hmm. But we have insurance, and I have 8 insurance policies. Like there are things that we have in our household budget, but we don't have this. And I find like it's the invisible labor, that's the conversation. And the conversation in media is about the invisible labor that women do, both in business and at home. Well, in home, it's almost all established by a woman. And you're in your home, so you're in isolation. So the only way that you could see into other people's homes is your family of origin, your friends who actually let you through the front door, or whatever you see on social media. Mm-hmm. That's not a large, pool of information in order to set up your household. And then when you go to the store, you can't buy an operational system for your household, but you can buy containers. And so you, as the head of a household, are set to make up your own entrepreneurial system, your own homeschool system for how you're going to run this. And there's nothing to buy in order to do it. Every single person who set up a household has figured it out on their own. They are all entrepreneurs. They've all figured it out 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I love what you do, especially with your systems. I think it's so interesting. And I want to underline what you just said earlier was this is all analog that you just shared with that home system. This is not, in the cloud. This isn't on your desktop. And I'm also just thinking about those women who maybe they are running a business out of their home or they're just kind of starting out and maybe they've had like their husband or partner has been kind of in charge, but let's face it, they're not always the most organized either, Lisa. And this gives them a tool that also helps not just give them places to shove their paperwork, but it guides them too. Can you tell us about the systems themselves? Like what, because you're not just, again, like it's not just a vessel for your paperwork, right? It's an actual system. What does a system for your home look like?
Yes. So the complexity of your household grows as you age. Like I mentioned, I wanted to have kids. I went to school. I got an early childhood degree. Like becoming a mom, yes, I was overwhelmed. Yes, I was tired, but I knew how to do early childhood care. What I didn't know how to do was deal with divorced parents, step in as power of healthcare, power of attorney, and then ultimately sell our family home and settle an estate. There's no playbook for that. How in the world is there no playbook for that? Like we all came from parents. You may not have children, fine, great, but you all came from parents. Like, hello, we are all going to have to do this. This realization really hit me as I went through this. And I did this before I started Organize 365. I was looking for a Mad Libs. You remember those? Where you could just put a verb, put a noun. I was like, where is the Mad Libs for settling an estate? Because everybody's going to die. Yeah. And my husband and I are both the oldest in our family, and both of our parents are divorced. And we figured out we are going to settle somewhere between 5 and 8 estates, my husband and I together. Yeah, do the math. I mean, when people really start thinking about this, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm settling 9 estates. Like, you just really have to think about it. Our parents were baby boomers, possibly. We only have like 1 sibling or no siblings. we don't have a lot of kids. Like my sister doesn't have any kids. So, I mean, I'm settling her estate. She already's like, hey, this is you. You know, we've got a lot of these estates we have to do. And so, you know, I'm in the process of getting my PhD. I'll be done in June. And when you research the academic literature, so as women, if your audience is mostly women, we realize now that there's not a lot of science behind going through menopause, which is all over the internet, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like the medical and the psychological sciences have not really studied menopause. As a matter of fact, it's not even a stage of life.
Today.
I don't even know how this is possible. So I am in academia, and I know how hard it is to change the things that are in academia. There is nothing in academia about organizing your household. Nothing. There is about your household as an economic unit and the amount of hours you spend in housework, like laundry, dishes, and meal planning. There's no operational definition. There's no definition of housework in academia. Like it's like the goldfish swimming in the fishbowl. We are in the water and we don't realize that we're in the water. So how do you pass on these operational systems? Back in the 40s and 50s, when the baby boomers were going on, we had Lillian Gilbreth, the cheaper by the dozen. She was a psychologist and they did time studies. And she was, from an economic standpoint, how do you efficiently run a home and how do you economically run a home? But that left us in the 60s and 70s. And we really haven't had that kind of model in academia or in marketing for multiple generations. So now we are the children of parents who didn't have that because our grandparents had that model of setting up house and running an operational system and passing that on to the next generation. That got lost a couple of generations ago. So I am reestablishing that.
Oh, look at you. That's amazing. And it's interesting too, because I can feel my heartbeat rising a little bit because this, I'm not going to lie, it feels very exciting, but also at the same time overwhelming. However, something that you had mentioned earlier is that this is a process that can actually, while it understandably will take time, can actually feel good, right? I can't imagine the feeling, right? Like I know how it is in my business when I've like completed a project or finished creating a system and I've taught the system and I'm like, all right, someone else take the reins, right? Yeah. Someone else needs it as well too. You mentioned organization as a form of even self-care, which I think is so fascinating.
Absolutely. So, and I didn't answer your original question, which is about making an analog. Yes, we make these systems, these invisible systems that live in our brain, visible in a box on your kitchen counter, because then your family can access your brain when you're not there. And also you can hand it off and say, oh yeah, this is a project that needs to be done. Hey, can you do this for me? And you literally hand them the paper. So that is that. But the self-care part. So my next book is called Escaping Quicksand, 10 Steps to Overcoming the Overwhelm of Modern Daily Living. And it basically is teaching you how to have self-care in 10 steps. And I really wrestled with this because I know this is what I needed and I know what other people need. And I was like, how do you explain self-care? How do you explain without it being selfish, right? Because we don't want to do self-care because we don't want to be selfish. And so we came up with this, that you must take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. That is what self-care is. Again, self-care is not just feeding, clothing, and bathing yourself. It's also your emotional, your relational, your educational needs as adults. Like those don't go away after we become an adult. So how do you practically do that after you set up the Sunday basket? The next step we have, the beginning part of the Productive Home Solution, I send you to your bedroom like you're 12. And I tell you, you have to go clean your closet, your bathroom, and your bedroom. When was the last time you did that? Your closet, maybe. But when was the last time you, as an adult, cleaned out your bathroom and thought through all of the things that you put on your body or in yourself, supplements and all that, at night and in the morning? We do it for children all of the time. You, of course, would do it for your parents if you were caring for them. But we don't think about updating that for ourselves. So I have you really start thinking about your morning routine, your evening routine, how your closet and your bathroom and your bedroom really support those things. And so at the end of that 6 to 8 weeks, now you're going to bed and you're waking up in the most organized space in your house, and it's supportive of you. So now you're sleeping organized. You're going to bed and you're waking up organized. And like you said, you're starting to see, oh, this is what living an organized life feels like. I went to go brush my teeth and I didn't have enough toothpaste, but I have my back stock ready. So I just grabbed a new thing of toothpaste, kept brushing my teeth, and then just put it on my grocery list. seamless. Just like in business, when you have really well running operational systems, it's just seamless. That's how your household can run too.
I have so many thoughts about this.
Sorry.
No, I love it all, but this really speaks to me, especially because I am like borderline compulsive about my surroundings, like needing to be organized, because I deeply believe, and not just my personal surroundings, my digital surroundings as well. My team will tell you, deeply unsettled when things are not organized. And I thought for a while, like, I do have these perfectionist tendencies, but regardless, like, I feel good when my surroundings are supporting me and I'm not just constantly trying to always clean up, because I think that's the other thing, especially as women, as mothers, like we're always the fixers, we're always the cleaner uppers. And, and that being said, you're 100% right. As we get older, there's more stuff, there's more things to take care of, people to take care of. And we find that, like, who's taking care of me, right?
Yeah.
And so having these systems in place that just feel like, again, you don't have to like scurry out of the house to pick something up because you've prepared, right? That's what systems, I feel like, really help us do, is help with predictability and preparation as well, in addition to responding to life's, ins and outs that are going to inevitably happen. So I love the way that you framed that about, also taking care of ourselves. And, maybe we can't afford a house manager right now, but we've got tools and strategies that can also be set in place. So it's almost like mimicking the system of a house manager. Would you agree?
Yes. And I think, in this book, it's 10 steps to overcoming the overwhelm, but they aren't all steps that you have to do. Some of them are just mental shifts, and one you just identified. I have a whole chapter on becoming a woman of excellence. This was a podcast I recorded years ago. And you mentioned that you are a perfectionist. And I think there are positives and negatives associated with perfection. Like, I'm a perfectionist. I put good work in. Like, I am doing my job well. That's what you think of when you say you're a perfectionist. And for years, I would say, well, I can't achieve perfection, so I'm not a perfectionist. And just kind of throwing it away as in like, well, I can't achieve that standard. I'm a B student, because I did have B's and the occasional C. I'm not a perfectionist. I have dyslexia. I have other things. And so I can't achieve perfection. And so I was like, well, I'm just not a perfectionist. And then over time, I thought, yes, but I do put in good effort and I do work with excellence at everything I do. And I go, you know what? Perfection doesn't exist. It's impossible. If you get your house perfectly organized, then you eat something and you have a new dish. Now it's not perfectly organized and clean anymore. Like, you can't do it. But every single person can be a woman of excellence. Every single one. And if we're striving for excellence, we know that we're not going to be perfect, but we put in that same effort that you would towards perfection without the guilt and the weight of the standard of perfection. So, Rena, you are a woman of excellence. You're not a perfectionist, because perfection doesn't exist. And just that reframe for me was like, it allowed me to step back into that energy of putting forth my best effort after I'd thrown away the idea of perfection. I love the marrying of that concept. That's one of the steps right there. You've just done one of the steps. There was no work to do in your house, but the shift in your mind is, that's right, I'm putting in excellent effort. I'm going to continue to be a person of excellence, but perfect doesn't exist, so I don't have to hold myself to that standard.
Hi, friends. I want to tell you about our new and improved authority accelerator from Factor PR called RealFluence. RealFluence is the only membership that helps beauty and wellness founders grow their reputation and authority to attract new customers without endless discounting, advertising, or going viral. Inside, you'll learn how to get recognized for your product or your expertise, partner with other founders, and become the name people trust and talk about, all with the guidance and community to support you every step of the way. Remember, you can't buy authority. You have to earn it. And RealFluence is here to help. Visit therealfluence.com to get started. Ooh, spicy. I love that. That's such a good
Self-care.
Yes.
It's self-care.
Absolutely. And it's something that you don't have to apologize for, right? Because it's not just excellence for the sake of excellence, but it's excellence with purpose, which I think is really, really amazing. That kind of brings me to another topic I wanted to briefly touch upon, because in addition to there being a lot of media about, the lack of research in women and perimenopause, menopause, the tides are sort of shifting there. We're also seeing potential correlations, especially in midlife, with things like ADHD, which can also be related to perfectionism or excellence or what have you. You've done a lot of work in this area. What is the relationship between ADHD and organization that you've uncovered?
There is a one-to-one match. That's what the correlation is. So ADHD is a deficiency in your executive functioning in your brain. The executive function, or the central processor of the brain, is responsible for like holding information in your head while you can manipulate it. The best way I can explain it as a teacher is when you learned long division the old way. So when you learn long division the old way, you had to multiply and then you had to write the number, then you'd subtract and you'd bring up the number, then you do the whole thing again and carry the one, all those things. You were doing a lot of that in your head. You would start to do a lot of that in your head. And we would notice, or I would notice when I was teaching middle school, often children that would end up with an ADHD diagnosis, the math teacher knew before the language teacher did, because math is step by step and you would miss a step, meaning that you would skip something in your working memory. Now, in working memory is one of the executive functions. Organization is an executive function. Planning is literally, that's what it's called in the literature. Planning is an executive function. Self-regulation, initiation, which means to start. So if you have a hard time getting started and then keeping going through a project and making decisions, that's all executive function. These are all the things that are measured in ADHD. And they all can be different in different ADHD diagnoses. So you may have trouble getting started, but once you get started, you're just fine, or you don't have trouble getting started, or, and vice versa. So executive function increases to a certain age, and then it naturally starts to decline in everyone. So about 40 is when your executive function naturally starts to decline. So I was recently diagnosed with ADHD. Did I have it as a child? We don't know. I'm 53 now. I'm more ADHD than I was last year. I'll be more ADHD next year than I was this year, because naturally your executive function is going to decline. So back to that fact that my systems are analog. The only thing we have shown in the literature that does support the cognitive overwhelm of keeping everything in your head is to take it out of your head. The problem is when you take it out of your head and you put it in a calendar, or you put it in an app, or you write it down on a piece of paper, you have to go find that thing. How many people have like 18 to-do lists? And you start another one because you lost that one. And I sure hope I remember what was on that to-do list. So the Sunday basket increases your cognitive capacity. It reduces the working of your executive function by externalizing every blessed thought you have onto a piece of paper into this box, and then you'll deal with it on Sunday. I need to get my hair cut. Great, but not before Sunday. So I throw it in the box. Then on Sunday, I go, okay, when did I last have my haircut? Is this the one where I'm going to get it highlighted? Where am I going to do it? You make all those decisions on Sunday. You don't need to make them right now as you're listening to this podcast. You just need to capture that you need to make that decision. You can batch it and do the work later. But if you don't have a consistent system to capture that information, your brain's just going to go, I told you you need a haircut. I told you over and over and over again, because that is literally the job of your brain. Perspective memory. That's what my dissertation is on. The memory of future ideas that you need to remember. Your brain's just going to randomly tell you it when it thinks about them. Usually for me, that's at 3 a.m.
Me too.
I mean, I'm up for like 90 minutes, 3 nights a week, just going, oh yeah, I got to do that. I got to do that. I got to do that. I got to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the Sunday basket, just to kind of confirm. So that is a physical basket that you can kind of fill during the week of decisions, activities, initiatives, whatever it is that don't need immediate tending to, that you're kind of setting aside time. You're depositing it out of your brain into this basket and setting aside time on Sunday to deal with whatever it is in the basket. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So just yesterday, what I added to my Sunday basket, my husband had the chimney swept, because it's winter. Guess what? We can't have fires anymore. Our chimney's broken. I didn't even know that was a possibility. So he's like, great, it's $6,500 to get a stove insert. I'm like, what are we even talking about? So now we're getting another estimate. Okay. So I'm thinking about this. Like, I love fires. How can we not have a fire? Now I'm Googling, how do you fix a fireplace? I just took the first estimate. He's already made the second appointment. Put it in the Sunday basket. He and I are going to have that conversation on the weekend. It's Thursday morning. I need to do book edits. I can't be working on a chimney that obviously is not going to be fixed in time for the holidays anyway. So that is a future Lisa problem. I also received them. I'm having a grandbaby. I received some mail that's for my daughter's baby shower. Oh, thanks. They're little things. Threw them in the Sunday basket. The mail came in. I glanced at it. Nothing's urgent. I just throw it all in there. I don't even go through like what's going to be sorted or not. All these things come at us constantly. Texts, direct messages, mail, requests, phone calls. Like I drop so much paper in there. And then, it takes me at least 90 minutes to go through my Sunday basket on Sunday. You're spending that time anyway. You're just doing it in 5 to 10 to 15 minute pockets of time, 24/7. You're doing it 24/7. And statistics will already show you that when you task switch from whatever you're doing to the next thing, you lose 15 to 20 minutes. So you're going to save so much time when you start batching all of this stuff over to Sunday. Or whatever day you want.
Love this. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I was going to ask you, does it have to be Sunday or just the day that you have the most capacity for decision making and so forth? I mean, I think the name Sunday basket is lovely, but I was just curious if you could shift it around.
Sunday basket for me, because when I created it, my kids were 6 months and 2 years old, and I was a stay-at-home mom. So doing it on Monday wasn't an option. So on Sunday afternoon, we'd already been with family all day Saturday. We'd been to church in the morning on Sunday, like from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. No one needed me. So I just went and I did it. My husband took care of the kids. Now I like it because it sets up my week for success. If you are a homeschooling family, if you, work 4/10s and you have a day off and the kids are in school, pick that day. It just has to be a consistent day that you'll do it every single week. Because if you don't, your brain is smart and goes, oh, we got a new system. I don't think she's going to do it. And so it'll keep reminding you. That's why it takes 6 weeks. Not because you didn't do the system, because your brain doesn't trust you yet. When you do it for 6 weeks, your brain's like, oh, she's actually going to follow up on this thing. Okay, well, we could tell her once. She'll write it down. She'll deal with it on Sunday. That's fine. Or she'll deal with it right away because she knows it can't wait. Your brain starts to breathe a sigh of relief. Your whole body starts to breathe a sigh of relief. Oh, we have a system for this. But if you switch the day around or you don't do it, you're not going to reap the wellness benefits of it.
Yes. I love this. We just recorded an episode about context switching as a major productivity hack, right? Because we lose hours a week just from toggling from decisions and activities. And, we also talked about the economic costs of context switching. Yes. I'm 100% with you where, we're just distracted or distractions are coming at us all day long and thinking to ourselves, I need to tend to this. I will write it down. As you said, you forget about what you just wrote down because it's not centralized. There's no system. And then if you have to stop what you're doing to attend something else, what does that ultimately cost you? There's financial implications as well as emotional implications I can see too.
And in the literature, because I am doing this perspective memory for my dissertation, my chair was like, okay, this is a little morbid, take this out. But where they've really tested in workplaces, the cost of that distraction from what you were doing to attend to the new thing that has come in is in aviation and in medical care. So in an aviation checklist, when a distraction comes in or a new task comes in as you're going through your flight checklist and you don't go back to where you were in your flight checklist, that is where accidents happen.
Oh, no.
And in medical, when you're going through your checklist and something comes up and you don't go back through your checklist, these checklists in medical and in aviation have been tried and true and tested and all kinds of studies done on them. And they're like, yep, the perspective memory screws it up because you think of something you need to do that's not on the checklist, or someone comes in and makes an interruption. and then it's life and death. But I argue that for us at home, it's a slow death. It's a slow death of our self-esteem and our prioritization and our worthiness. Like you mentioned earlier, you've just got all of these things to do and these expectations on yourself. We are doing so much. And we are checking off 85 things on our checklist. And then the one thing you miss, that's what you're judged on. By your family, by society, by the school, by work. Up, you forgot to bring in the donuts. Up, you forgot to sign the permission slip. Yeah, but I did 85 things today.
Yes.
Can you not notice what I did everything? In work, you would say oh, you're doing 99%, but could you work on this one thing? On your performance review. At home, it's like, great, you did 10 million thousand things, but you missed these 3, so you suck.
Yeah.
I'm like, God sick. So it's the perfectionistic standard, and this is in the literature. The perfectionistic standard that women are held to is just untenable. It's untenable.
And you know what? I feel like this system, what we're talking about here too, though, I just keep thinking of the word empowerment too, Lisa, because what this also is helping women with is boundaries, which we also struggle with. Like, I talked to my team about this. I stole this analogy from, and I forget which author it was. I've got his book somewhere on my shelf, but you may have heard of this analogy about if you bring a monkey into my office, you must leave with the monkey because otherwise I've got a circus jumping around in here, right? And it just kind of reminds me of like, just because someone needs something of you and has reached out to you today, obviously use your best judgment. I work in PR. If a journalist reaches out today, I'm going to get back to them today. All right. But like, that's my priority. But, getting back to a birthday invitation that I haven't really thoughtfully reviewed, I cannot thoughtfully review right now. There's a time and place for that. And it honors our boundaries as women, as entrepreneurs, so that we can do our best work, because just as you said, we're going to be judged regardless. So we might as well honor our peace as best as possible. There's not perfection in that, but I love that you're giving people the tools to be able to do that in a really effective way too. So thank you for that. Definitely want to check out the Sunday basket. And I know that all of this conversation is so timely at the top of the year, Lisa. Where do people begin? So for starting the top of the year, we have these high expectations, right? Like, I'm going to get it all together. I'm going to get my life organized. I'm going to get my business organized. Where can we start? I would love to hear. Let's start with the business side of things. What would you recommend on that end?
Okay. So you mentioned boundaries in the Sunday basket. I love that. I hadn't thought about it that way. And empowerment. So I use different words, but I love those words. So what I like about the Sunday basket, you mentioned finances earlier, and we are the largest economic engine in the world. When I do my Sunday basket, I make my financial decisions for the week. When I have things come in random, then I make my financial decisions and my time allocation decisions depending on my mood, my caffeination status. I say yes to things I shouldn't and no to things I shouldn't because I'm just making them in the moment. But when you do them on Sunday, you have more of those boundaries and the capacity. I say you have more capacity because you are saving all of that time. When I think about business, I think about, as a woman in my direct sales business, I noticed that even if a woman had she would do the goal setting and she would set, what she wanted for her business and she would get started. They would all fail within a couple of weeks of meeting their own goals and expectations. And so I started doing coaching sessions and goal setting and like looking at their calendar and finding their time and all that. We would set all that. And then within a couple of weeks, they would fail their own goals. And what I noticed over time was the most organized person wins. If your home is not organized, and you feel like you're failing at home, or sometimes your family members tell you you're failing at home, then you scurry back home to get going on the organizing and you miss your work goals. So I find the people who are most successful in work either have just given up on the home and they're like, well, whatever, I'm good at work and somebody else can deal with that, or nobody sees it, so I'm not going to worry about it. It is causing me stress and anxiety, but no one sees it, so I'm just going to keep pouring into work. Or I'm very organized at home, and so I can be organized at work. And I feel, and this could be wrong, it's just observation, like no science behind this or anything. I feel that when women work for other people and they're in corporate America or working for someone else in general, they can let their house go and be really successful at work. But if you're an entrepreneur, you end up not being successful at work. Because a lot of entrepreneurs do work from home and you're constantly juggling work and home. And there's not good boundaries in entrepreneurialism anyway. Like you said, if you got a call on or a text on Saturday night, you're going to reply to a journalist anytime because this is your business. Your employees might not. They would say, and you wouldn't want them to. Like, I don't have my employees on 24/7, but I'm on 24/7 because I'm an entrepreneur. So now I've got a 24/7 job at work and a 24/7 job at home. And let's be clear, as an entrepreneur, there's always more you want to do. It's never done. Just like at home, more you want to do. It's never done. We don't have a job description. When you're in corporate America, you have a job description, you meet that job description, you have reviews. But if you're an entrepreneur, you're just constantly going everywhere. And the house takes a while to get it set to your phase of life. But once you get it set to your phase of life and your household is humming along, it just supports you and you're able to go even further in your entrepreneurial endeavors, in my opinion.
I love that. And would you suggest too, Lisa, that some of these tools that you have at Organize 365, I mean, can you use them for the office as well? Like, let's say you have an office not in the home. Can you use them in those areas too?
So you did up until December 31st. So I had a whole work line. I had a whole school line. I had a work line. We have a military product. Like, as a teacher, creating content is not a problem. Creating new courses is not, teaching them all is not a problem. I can do all of those things. But it is when you are struggling with work and home, and I knew this way back in the beginning, most people who start organizing people in the home eventually move to organizing people in work. It's more profitable. It's easier to do because there are already some structures there. There's more money allocated for organization in work than there is at home. And I always said, I won't leave home for work, but I'll do both. I'll help you win at both, as Michael Hyatt's company would say. And ultimately, I personally am winning at home at work. My customers started winning at work and not at home. And there was a period of time while I was getting my PhD where I noticed that I wasn't hearing people saying, oh my gosh, I'm finally organized. People used to say that all the time. And I wasn't hearing that anymore. I'm profitable in business. I'm being more successful, but not I'm winning at home. And so last summer I said, I'm shuttering all of our work offerings. And people are like, you're doing what? And this is like a major income in our business. I was just like, yep. Recurring revenue even. I was like, yep. As of December 31st, we're not doing any of that. And people are like shocked. And then the emails started coming in. I'm retired and you stopped talking to me 2 years ago because all you talk about is work now. I only promoted the Sunday Basket once in 18 months because I was so into everybody's businesses and creating courses for work and iterating on work. A lot of people said, you're right. I totally got my house organized with you. Then I followed your work products and my work is going so well. And I turn around and my house is a disaster. So I have gone back and I am not, I mean, I know how to grow businesses, but that is not going to be my one thing that I focus on. It's helping you get your home operationally organized. You can do it in a year with a lot of focused effort. And then that will maintain for 5 to 10 years. And then you'll need to, tweak it. You'll never have to do it again the way that you did the first time. And everything we have is lifetime access. So you'll have the resources to do it again when you need to, or more importantly, when you now need to do your adult kids' houses or your family members' houses as they experience life events and you start to manage multiple households. You'll put them all in the same operating system. Because right now, if you manage mom's house and you manage your son's house and you manage your house, they're all different operating systems. You're going to have one operating system.
Definitely. Definitely. Okay. So we're sunsetting the office.
Yeah. Sorry. It's already gone.
No. Okay. Already gone.
Already gone.
What, in addition to your book, Lisa, what else are you looking forward to in 2026? Anything you can tell us about?
So I will be 14 years in business, 54 years old, and I want to work till I'm 80. I made this goal when Martha Stewart was 80. She's like 83 now. I'm like, if she's still working, I can still be working. Like, this is no big deal. So I will get my PhD this summer. I'll come out with my next book this summer, Escaping Quicksand. And I really want to continue to refine the message of let's get our houses all the way organized. Let's get our houses all the way organized. I mean, I got a PhD not because I have to, but because I want to have this conversation in the media. I want to have it in academia. As the time of this recording, we will have already started our first study of the Sunday Basket. So we are doing an intervention with the Sunday Basket. If we find support that it does support executive function as we think it does, then I'm going to approach different medical institutions to replicate this study with a non-convenient sample and see if this could be a non-medical intervention for ADHD.
That is so inspiring.
Yeah, just little goals. Just have little goals.
That's amazing. You're such an entrepreneur. You're like, I don't have to do this, but we're going to do this. Right. And I love that. I love that for you. You've been so generous sharing your tips and tricks. Where can people get more and learn more about you? Where can they connect with you online?
Oh, thank you. So the website's Organize 365. That's where you'll find the shop and anything we have going on. The podcast is Organize 365, and we have a book coming out. It'll be available for pre-order in February called Escaping Quicksand.
Amazing. Lisa Woodruff, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode deposited some useful advice and insights to help you grow your wealth. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future conversations. You can find more resources, episode details, and updates at growyourwealthpodcast.com. And let's keep the conversation going on Instagram. Follow me at Grow Your Wealth Podcast. I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or takeaway from today's show. Until next time, remember, burnout is optional. Take care, and I'll see you next week.